just start recording. I'll cut out whatever we need to.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I am Jackson of the New Imperial Chronicle, and thank you for coming to this interview. If we could, let me start with a round of introductions. We'll just kind of start here and work our way around the table.
Okay, what do you want? Name, I guess, right? Yeah, my name's Cedric. What do you want? What else do you want to know?
Just your name for now will suffice.
Cedric. Me.
Helen.
Robert.
Edward Babbage Duthane.
Barb. Isabel.
All right, thank you. I would like to start with Helen, if we could. Why piracy, Miss Vandeleur?
Well, I started in the Imperial Navy, and there's just not much room for a powerful woman in a position like that. It just doesn't work no matter what they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a strong, independent, powerful, able-bodied woman, I had to go out to be supposed to support me.
Yes, they just couldn't handle all
Professionalism is
the
out the window.
pirates.
Pirates professionalism.
Shut up, this is my turn!
Continue.
Nobody asked you. I wanted to set out on my own. And I'm just a very adventurous person, so on my own I can go exactly where I choose, when I choose, and I don't have to, take orders.
Understandable. So, that's how you got to becoming just a pirate. But how did you become the pirate queen?
Isn't that obvious? I'm powerful.
Well, I understand. Sure, it's true. But tell us the story of how it actually happened.
Well,
Were you elected, or did you seize power from somebody else?
Well, from, Cedric to Jezebel and the other people in my crew, I just sort of came to accumulate a group of people that were really supportive of me. And then it was a combination of gathering my own small crew. And then, a little bit of conquering, if you want to put it that way, some of the other, bringing them under me, more of bringing under smaller, pirate groups under my lead.
Okay.
Protection.
Exactly, protection.
Right. Makes sense. Cedric, how does pirate life compare to military life?
I mean, I miss the order. I like knowing what we're gonna do, or where we're gonna go. But I guess that's what makes this life a little more fun. Just because, who knows what we're gonna do tomorrow? Maybe we're gonna be ruin diving tomorrow in some far off area. Maybe we're gonna be setting up shop in some town. Maybe we're just gonna take it easy and sail along. It's a lot more adventurous. There's a lot more, I won't use the word excitement, but perhaps, excitement's the right word, I guess.
Okay. Edward, how did your steam engineering become pirate engineering?
Money.
Money? Okay. Helen pays pretty well then?
Yes, she does. Right?
Okay. Alright. And Robert?
Mm-hmm.
As the senior most pirate of the group, how did you think piracy has changed since you started?
Well, with all these new recruits, new faces, bringing a lot of new tactics, if they want to call them that, into this world of piracy. I mean, things change, things evolve over time. It's generally become pretty interesting. But I mean, in general, the the core of piracy has always been the same. Find someone who has money, take said money. The way in which you accomplish that may change over time, but in general, it's pretty much going to stay the same.
Okay. Jezebel, you have an interesting life story. How did you transition from gambler to pirate?
Well, I guess it started when I met Helen, and I watched her, during a bar fight, she grabbed 2 guys by their crotches and threw them out a window, and that got my interest going. So, I befriended her because that's pretty impressive. They were like twice her size. And I figured, hanging out with pirates, I'd find enough chances to gamble. They're always willing anyway. And so I just kind of stayed with her, and once gambling became illegal, it became a lot easier to be a pirate than a gambler.
Understandable. And Barbara, what is it like as a crew member of a pirate ship?
It could be better. Sure, some of the wages, they aren't going to stand to the amount of debt that I'm in, but, it's better than being, I guess, under Imperial rule and stuck being bored all day.
Mm-hmm. Cedric, you knew Helen a while back, before you became pirates.
Yes.
Tell us about how you found Helen recently. Tell us about the encounter when you first found her as a pirate.
So like I said earlier, I was in the Imperial Navy, and we were just doing a basic run. Basically we were moving ships, really, from one port to another port. It was a really off day, thankfully, in terms of, the war. There wasn't any big conflict going on at that time. This was what do you want to say, 5, 6 so years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And we were attacked, the ships. And so, do the usual military things, get the cannons ready. But I recognized the flag because we were friends, and Helen had always had these sort of grandiose plans of becoming a pirate. And she told me what she imagined her flag to be like, and I recognized it. It was the Imperial Rose. So I may have done something that you're not supposed to technically do as an officer, and parlay with the pirates. And when I came out, I saw her, and yeah.
All right, and the rest is history, right? Edward, do you enjoy this lifestyle? Kind of on the move? Does it function for you? You still get to tinker the way you once did in a more stable workshop?
Oh, yes. There's no such thing as safety standards on a pirate ship.
Okay.
But there are its ups and downs.
For example?
You don't get to see your family very much. It's hard to form lasting friendships with people who aren't on the ship. And it's even harder to form lasting friendships with people who are on the ship.
All right. So, Robert, before this you were just a mercenary. Now you're a pirate. Besides the title, what changed? What caused that transition?
Could you please repeat the question?
So, beforehand, before being a pirate, you were a mercenary. So you were always hired to do a job beforehand. Whereas now you kind of decide on the job and then get whatever may come. So what caused you to switch roles?
Well, see, the problem that I always seem to have with being a mercenary was that it's really a very lonely lifestyle. I mean, yes, you can have friends, but as a mercenary, you're expected to be given a target and take them out. It leaves not much room for finding people to keep close to you. I mean, then you just end up with untied strings. So really, over time, I just found myself longing for friendship and companionism, and so I figured, what's a profession where I can continue to be, use the skills that I built up as a mercenary, and yet have other people to share a round of drinks or fun stories or something. So piracy seems like the best option.
Cool. Jezebel, you've owned a bar for a while, somewhere between your gambling and your piracy. What did you learn from that you can apply to pirate life?
Well, a couple of things. You learn a lot about people when they're drunk, very drunk, and throwing up on your floor. You learn a lot of things. You learn it's also a lot easier to gamble with drunk people. A lot easier to turn away from the bar fights too. But you also learn things like, when to tell people that they need to stop and kind of let them know their limits sometimes too, because, you watch some good people walk into those bars and they don't always walk out the best people.
Right, that's very important on a flying ship where walking just a few steps too far can lead to quite a long fall, alright?
Speaking of good people walking out with bad people, how did you find us?
Well,
I'm in the dungeon last night?
I'm not the one being interviewed here.
We invited him on this ship. Remember?
With handcuffs.
Yes.
I held him at gunpoint.
Just in case.
I was robbing
Those
him
famous
at the time.
handcuffed invitations, I remember those.
The padded ones.
That makes it worse.
Except they're pink.
Yes.
You made them pink.
For a reason.
Okay, we're not talking about evening plans just yet. Barbara,
Yes?
having worked on a great number of different ships, can you describe how the Iron Rose compares?
It's a pretty well-made ship, I must add. And with the engineers' adjustments to it, it's quite a lot faster than any other ship that I've been on. Don't know what else to say. It has a lot of cargo, or it has a fair amount of cargo space. And well, other than somebody always getting in my way and not somebody never teaching me anything, the crew seems quite nice.
Alright, fair enough. I would like you all to take a moment now to open your envelopes, remove a stack of sticky notes, and read the first
Sticky notes.
note. Do not keep it for the next one. Read it silently to yourself. Think about it for a moment. Possibly start to formulate some answers, but this information should influence you further. Okay? When you're ready, I will move on. Helen, you've been with Cedric a while.
Yes.
Tell us, why do you wish to remain unmarried?
Cedric might have paid him for this question.
Talk about this.
You're the one that invited him.
Anyway, back to the question. When it comes down to it, I'm really not ready to be married yet. And I don't see a reason why I should get married if I'm not ready to get married yet. I mean, we've had a good relationship for a good long while now. If we're in any danger of anything, he certainly hasn't told me so, and I don't think we are. It's just,
But
it'll come.
why are you ready for marriage? What about it?
What Well, it would mean that I would probably have to leave my position to, in order to really settle down. Maybe have kids. Let's not entertain that notion too much right now. Just stop talking, I'm just it's just, I'll know when it comes. And it will come, before I'm too old to enjoy it.
Are you taking bets on when she actually accepts?
honey's on the long years.
Keep you all here.
Alright, Cedric, you're kind of on the opposite end. Why is it that you desire children so much?
There's this clock in the back of my head that's ticking right now.
Your clock. Continue. I mean, I
Why are you not getting any younger? You're what, 37? 36?
So I feel it should be pointed out here that the Pirate Queen is actually the man.
Oh,
shots fired.
Random was
Fire
fired.
the clock is ticking. He wants babies now.
Fire back.
Well, I mean, like, how am I going to enjoy having with children if I can't, play with them? If I can't run around after them, can't play.
Put it away.
I have.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
I don't want my children to be running circles around me. I want to be able to chase them.
True. 4-year-olds are hard to keep up with.
Airship.
Alright, Edward, tell me the tale of how you ended up owing your life to Helen.
Well, you see... Alright, out of character for a moment, are there any details I need to work in? Okay. Well, you see, I had just left out the ferry's milk, which is the milk that you leave on top of the engine so it doesn't explode. You all laughed at me, but our engine goes faster and has yet to explode.
That is true. That is true.
Now then,
Are you sure you're not giving your skills the credit they deserve?
It's definitely fair.
but the ferry's milk is scientifically proven through empirical research. I just haven't proven the ferry's part. Anyway, so I had just left out the ferry's milk, but I'd forgotten to leave out the gnome's milk. Therefore, the floor collapsed.
What collapsed?
Floor.
The floor collapsed. Okay.
Yes. And as you might be aware, we're on a pirate ship that's in the
I
sky.
can see how that would be a problem, yes.
Yes. And also, so the engine, how much do you know about ship construction?
Not a whole lot.
Okay. Well, the engine, because it is this huge, massive, giant thing,
Uh-huh.
does not follow the same deck pattern. Namely, it has one deck, which is the bottom.
Okay.
And,
So the floor there would leave you open to the sky, is what you're saying?
yes.
Okay.
And Helen had come down because I needed extra milk, so I took hers.
Okay. She just happened to have some on hand?
Well,
Good for bone strength.
well, as you may not be aware, fairy's milk is actually whiskey.
Ah, it all makes sense now.
Regardless. Gnome's milk, by the way, is rum.
I should make a note of that.
Regardless. So she saw me and pulled me up and started yelling at me about stealing her alcohol again.
This wasn't the first time.
No, it wasn't the last either. In fact, you have a surprise waiting for you when you get back.
Surprised that you owe me money for the alcohol you stole.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't just steal from Cedric.
I steal from him too. Do you know how much milk the gnomes and the fairies and the elves and the goblins consume?
Too much.
Yeah.
I think Cedric.
I doubt more than Cedric.
Here I was thinking my bottles were rolling out the window.
Well, we are all...
Back to your story now.
So she pulled me up, as I said, started yelling at me, and that more or less was that.
All right.
Saved me from falling out of the floor.
Fair enough.
You look.
Thank you.
So, Robert,
Yes.
you are captain of your own ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But despite that, you still strongly support Helen's position as Pirate Queen.
Yeah.
Why is that?
She's always proved herself to be a good ally, good friend, definitely a good tactician. Could I make it on my own? Possibly. Do I want to make it on my own? Not so much. I've weighed out the pros and the cons, and the pros outweigh the cons, so.
All right. Part of that companionship that you said you were looking for. Jezebel?
Yes.
You talked about this bar fight in which you met Helen. How did that go down?
Well, I'm not 100% sure what Helen was doing, but I'm fairly certain I heard some men make some very impolite comments to her, and I think that might have set her off, and that might have led to a brawl on her half of the bar. On the side of the bar I was on, I was gambling. It's a small habit I have.
Yes.
Small. Oh, none of you can judge. Anyway,
It's only the source of your well-known title, Blackjack Jezebel.
something really big.
No, it's not. There's a blackjack.
He's so funny sometimes. One of the reasons I like him. Anyway, no. So I might have won a few too many times. I got a little caught up in the game, and I was about to walk away, very ladylike, and well, they didn't want to give me my money, and that's not okay. So I might have accidentally threatened the man, and he might have retaliated, and I might have drawn my pistol. It's completely normal, I mean, right?
Right.
That's what he would do.
I was
And
certainly
so
going to say that.
the brawl continued, and eventually it got to the point where the two brawls kind of fused and coalesced into one giant brawl. And I saw Helena, and I was actually about to shoot her because I thought she was coming for me. Well, then I noticed she was fighting her own kind of gang of dudes. So I might have shot the guy behind her instead. She was like, well, why not? She looks like a pretty good fighter. Next thing I know, she's picking a guy up by the crotch and throwing him out the window, and I was like, that's impressive. So I figured, anybody who knows that kind of showmanship has got to be someone fun to hang out with. So she and I became friends.
Sounds like an excellent adventure. Barbara,
Yes?
try not to let her influence you too much. But tell me the truth. Is Helen a good employer?
Well, she's better than the employers I had prior, but she's a little bit too overbearing. I mean, I feel like at times that she's trying to be the mother that I lost, when she never will be.
And why is that?
That's because I've come to terms that my mother will never come back. So it's sort of like, why cry over spilled milk, or why try to find something to replace
Well,
someone?
apparently, if it's gnome's milk, it's quite a big deal.
Yes, apparently it's
No, but you have to put it on the right part of the engine or they won't find it.
Okay.
The part closest to you. The
No.
part closest to your lips.
No.
To his cup.
The part where the most heat is.
What, so it evaporates into your mouth?
No.
Oh, you're a fan of,
So
you're
that
a
it
fan of
explodes.
alcohol as well?
No, so then it doesn't explode.
Small wine, guys. Just with rum.
It's starting to make sense.
I have to.
Encourage him.
Yeah, why shouldn't you encourage me? I'm the only one who knows how to make this.
So long as it doesn't explode, I don't care.
Helen,
Or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Captain Rover has shown a lot of support for your position. What do you think you have done to gain his support?
Well,
Specifically.
I don't know exactly how he felt, but if it were me looking for somebody to take my position, I would want somebody who could prove themselves not just in a position of authority, but prove themselves, he was looking for companionship. And he saw that I was able to provide that not just, for him as a friend, but for many of the people on my crew. So I like to think, anyway, and I hope you'll confirm it, that he felt he was leaving it in good hands.
Okay. Cedric. Concerning Rover, he was with you in the Imperial Academy,
Correct.
somewhat of a rival,
He
right?
calls it that.
How do you approach such a potential challenge?
What challenge?
Does Rover have a few words to say about that?
Well, no.
Challenge?
Challenge?
I'll take bets on who's gonna win.
Bad timing. You think that I'm no challenge to you? Now you're just being rude.
I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the reason why I
Strong and
said
independent.
I didn't mean to offend. I'm really merely saying the facts. So as you know, there is an Imperial exam in order to get into the academy. And we were separated. Basically, I was in the top house, basically the top 5 percentile of the exam class.
Okay.
He was not that high.
Them be fighting more.
It was still very respectable. Top 50 percentile.
Okay. I mean, it was out of your hands.
Yes.
That's what you're trying to say.
Mhm.
Yes.
It was definitely out of your hands. Yeah.
So if we ever come across a test-taking Navy ship, we know who to send.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Edward, you and Cedric have become fast friends. Right. What's the funniest thing you've done together?
The funniest thing you've done. Well, you see, it's actually a double question. It has to be the funniest thing we've done together that I can tell everyone.
Always tell me everything, Edward.
She must never know.
Should I be covering my
She
ears?
said no, can I know? And if I can't know, then what is it? Why don't you trust me?
Should I leave the room?
No, you stay put. We're not done here yet. She said she doesn't want to be coddled.
All right. Well, tell us one funny tale of your antics together.
Well, there was this one time we went on, I guess you would still call it shore leave.
Yes.
Okay, shore leave. And we both had a little too much to drink. And we fell asleep and woke up, and we didn't know what time it was. And we thought that it was about an hour after the ship should have left.
See how that would be a problem.
Yes, it would be. But still being drunk, my friend Cedric came up with the brilliant solution, which I admittedly went along with, which I blame on my inebriated state, of riding cows as fast as we could. Cows. We stole 2 cows from the inn and rode them as quickly as we could down the main street.
Now, I do have to add.
That's impressive.
I do have to add.
It's a lot of shaking milk.
It's a lot.
Well, I
There
Must have drank.
really wasn't anything else to do, and we couldn't really walk straight. And the other animals, really. So
Wait, if you got drunk, how'd you get on the cows?
don't worry about it.
Fair enough. All right. Wilbur, what's it like to work with an old IAN buddy? I use the term buddy somewhat loosely.
It's just a blast.
That's sarcasm.
No, it isn't.
That's a bad one.
Anyway, I mean, he definitely knows his stuff. He's knowledgeable, sort of. It's alright.
Okay. Jezebel. Cedric here seems a tough nut to crack, wouldn't you say?
Bit.
How do you gain his trust?
Well, is how or what?
Both. Why not?
Well, how? I'm still working on that pen because he's more of a drinker and less of a gambler, and so it's not my forte as much. Although, I did own a bar for a little bit. So I've tried to mix him a couple, nice drinks or something, and he hasn't appreciated my efforts because,
No, there was one that you made the last time. The one with the what was it?
The little umbrella, right?
Yes,
the tequila sunset?
yes. That had like a hint of lime or something in it. Other fruity things.
Yes.
Other fruity things.
Other pretty things. fruit and alcohol can mix very well.
I do agree on that point.
Where do you think alcohol comes from?
I also agree.
The sky.
I mean,
Anyway.
it depends, but I don't know if...
Apparently fairies and
It
gnomes.
comes from gnomes, right?
Yeah, fairies and gnomes, you milk them.
And this is why he's not in
You have
charge of
no
everything.
idea how to
And
make
this is
alcohol.
why. This is why Mexican interest
This is why I make up the
Sometimes
distillery.
it's more nonsensical than anything else. As to why I would like to have his struts is one, I see that, he's made motions to court Helen, and I mean, she's my best, possibly only friend at this point in time, and so out of respect for her, I figure I should be on somewhat good terms with the man.
Motions to court?
Okay.
We've been together for years!
Whoosh!
What kind of friend are you?
Yes, but Helen, have you agreed to marry him yet, honey?
That is none of your business. No.
Okay.
By no I mean that
Put
is
the
none
finger
of your
away.
concern.
Put the
Put
finger
your
away.
finger away.
All right.
So also,
The judgment.
he does spend quite a lot of time with Edward, and well, I think most of the crew knows at this point that I would enjoy spending more time with Edward than I currently do.
Okay.
What?
What?
I thought you were supposed to be the most mature one.
I am?
All right,
Yes.
let's go in a different direction here. Barbara,
Yes.
what is it that you respect about Cedric?
Well, the fact that he's a happy drunk, unlike my father. But also, he seems to be, not as overbearing as Helen is, and he tries to hide from me that when he does get drunk. So that I don't see it, so he seems more of a positive influence, which I still know that he does.
A lovely one gives it away.
I'll start laughing at everyone.
That too.
All right.
To be polite.
Helen,
Mm-hmm.
do you think Barbara's rather young for piracy?
She may be young, but she wants this life, and she's willing to work towards it now. I mean, all the better for her if she learns the ropes now. When she has people that are willing to support her, no matter how she may feel about their support,
You're not my
more
real
power
mom.
to her.
If only she would follow you like she decides to follow me.
Okay. Cedric, Barbara seems to look up to you somewhat. How do you take on such a responsibility?
Well, it is very important for me to be a good role model and everything. I mean, sure, her parents being dead, that's kind of a very tragic thing. And not having so just being that positive person in her life. Someone she can look up to. I mean, emulate's probably too strong a word, but just if you'll let me indulge my humor, maybe she'll look back she'll look ahead 30 years from now. What did Cedric do? But that's quite humorous, actually.
Yes, quite. Edward,
Yes.
Barbara also seems interested in your work. And that seems to bother you. Why is that? Does she perhaps remind you of someone? What I'm trying to get at, without hurting too many feelings, does her interest make you think of your own daughter, who you haven't seen in a while?
Yes.
Yes, she does?
Yes.
Okay.
This
So
might be
it's a simple matter for you then.
this might be a touchy subject.
Okay.
Mm.
Rover, how about you? How do you handle the age disparity on board between you and Barbara, practically a generation apart? Is piracy for the old or for the young?
Well, I mean, you could argue that I'm still in my prime, but I mean, I know that time is long past. Now I pretty much, I like to think of myself as more of the head of instead of like the body. You know, I kind of think things through. I kind of plan things, and I like to think that I'm at least somewhat respected for my opinions and decisions, and that I can rely on the younger members of our crew to be more of the muscles and the physical part of our adventure.
Okay. Jezebel, on the other hand, you try hard to not be a role model for Barbara. What about your life do you want her to improve?
Well, I mean, I don't really think that this type of life is for anyone, almost really. And I mean, if she keeps up following me and thinking that I'm this great person, she's going to end up chasing a man down, shooting him in the face with the heart. I figure though he's dead. Just poetic justice there. And, then try to meet ends meet with the crew of pirates, because your habits remain illegal. So I don't think that's quite the life I would like to see a young woman, with so many possibilities in front of her end up as.
But it's so cool!
No. No. Don't. Admittedly, it's fun when you finally get to shoot them in the face. No, but they're still going to try
No. It's not fun. It's not fun. It is bad. It's bad.
Please continue.
Go.
All right. Barbara,
Yes?
Rover kind of took you in when he was a mercenary.
Yes.
Joined on his ship once. What does he like to work with?
Like I said with Helen, better than most of the other captains that I've been with. But he treats me especially better than all the other captains that I've been with. It's sort of to a degree where it's like, I obviously know that he's treating me better than everybody else, but I still have no idea why.
Okay.
Might I ask what you think of his habit of posing heroically at random times?
I actually haven't noticed this.
It's definitely not it.
I don't pose heroic.
Do you?
He was doing it just now. I'm not that drunk.
You started without me?
I said I'm not that drunk, Cedric.
I know, I haven't started yet.
So neither of us have started, so how did I start without you?
Pearson, are you still hungover? This is what I'm gathering from
All right.
you talk.
Okay. We're still in the middle of the interview. Back to Helen. We've heard how you first met
Alcohol.
Miss Jezebel in that bar fight. Tell us what went on afterwards. After basically everyone else laid there and died or unconscious.
Or out the window.
Yeah, then we left.
You just left?
But then we left and, she was really impressed with my feat of tossing a few men out the window. And so she asked me about it, and I said I would be more than happy to teach her, since it seemed that, I didn't mean this in a way that I was making judgment about her, just that, it seemed like she would find that useful in plenty of situations in the future, as, many women probably do.
When isn't it useful?
What?
When isn't it useful?
Exactly. And, I got back from the bar, or we were leaving the bar, and I didn't really have anything else planned for the evening. And so I told her, she could come up to my ship, and I could teach her right then if she wanted to, and then it just kind of happened. Friendship just kind of happened.
So I threw Cedric out the window?
No, you wanted to. How many times do we have to go?
Let me tell you.
Cedric, I'm going to ask what I think might be an obvious question at this point. But Jezebel is Helen's best friend, but you don't seem too sure of her. Why is that?
Why don't you love me?
Excuse
Tone it down.
Helen, let's
Everyone.
hurry. We've discussed this.
Let's be civilized.
One moment you want to throw out the window.
Okay, so I think she misunderstands me. I actually know how to gamble. It's just That's the issue. I gamble and I win when I gamble.
Not always.
You were the only person I've lost to.
Exactly. So just admit that I'm the best.
No, we're going to start
I
this
have my
outside
answer.
the interview. Or never.
Edward,
Yes.
you have a relatively new relationship with Jezebel. How's that going for you? And what would you say is the biggest hurdle?
He's taking so long.
Probably the fact that I invented steam-loaded dice that she hasn't discovered yet.
You made dice and you didn't tell me? This would make it so much easier. Wait, is that what you've been giving to Cedric? That's how you won.
Oh, honey, no.
No, that's
How will those dice help me when we were playing blackjack?
We played both. You were too drunk to really at the time.
Steam-loaded cards?
I also have a steam-loaded card dealer.
Oh god.
No, that one you showed me. That was dangerous.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a steam-loaded card dealer with cards that are sharp and get some
That's
kind
why
of
I don't trust
weird villain thing going on where I could just mow
Throwing
people
cards.
down. Yes.
I do like this.
By the way, this is the answer to your question.
Okay.
I think that in total was the answer to your question.
Oh, I see.
Yes?
I was trying to.
Gotcha.
What?
I bet it was just testing them out on Cedric to make sure they wouldn't kill you.
Deadly paper cuts.
They weren't made of paper.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I'm talking about the dice.
They were made of thin sheet metal with sharpened edges.
And all those cuts.
So, Rover, you
Safety standards are for the
game with the famed Blackjack Jezebel quite frequently.
Yeah, yeah.
Is she as good as they say?
She's pretty good. She's definitely better than I am. Wow, okay. Hostility.
best friends forever.
Robert,
It's what we call
when are
tough
you gonna
love.
give me the money you owe me?
Oh, I'll get it. You know me. I'll pay you when I have it.
When he's back on his own ship.
Yeah, I don't quite have the money saved up yet, but
Basically.
I'll give you. I'll pay you back. Don't worry.
Jezebel,
Yes.
would you say Wilbur is a steady source of income for you?
No. He should be. He should be with the amount we gamble and the amount he owes me. However, he's not been so up and coming with the actual money. And I'm pretty sure I've actually earned free passage for life on his ship at this point in time because he owes me that much, if not his actual ship.
Now this is an important distinction. Your life or his?
Actually, it's more than one lifetime of free passage.
Yeah, I was trying to spare his ego since he's taking on his hero pose again. That's his hero pose? Are you kidding me?
Alright, Barbara.
Next topic.
Yes.
Jezebel is almost the exact opposite of Cedric. So what is it that you like about her?
Well, it seems like she, with almost no effort at all, she seems to get a lot of money, a lot of respect, and a lot of people know her name. So pretty much, unlike Cedric, who works his butt off to to rise the ranks and become officer, Jezebel knows is well known around for being the best gambler, and she's just good at it. So I sort of want that carefree lifestyle and easygoing lifestyle that it should come with, or what it seemed like a fun lifestyle, I guess.
Okay. Helen, tell us the true story of how you saved Mr. Babbage do things life. How did it really go down from your perspective?
well, the floor really did fall out from underneath him, and I really was on my way down there to chew his ass out for stealing my alcohol again, and again, and again, and again. Actually, ironically, I was on my way down there, and I had every intent of throwing him off the ship myself. And then he was falling, and I grabbed him out of reflex, and I still don't know why. I was so fed up with it.
It's because I keep your ship running.
It's because he keeps my ship running. I was gonna throw him off the ship when we got considerably closer to ground.
And then your engine would have exploded about somewhere between 2 weeks and a month later.
Because it doesn't have the milk, right?
Well, it could have been the milk, but it could have been 1,000 other things. Honestly, the milk, you can go for a while without.
Yeah, I do know enough that with no mechanic, the ship isn't going to last for very long.
Yeah.
But, I think one of the reasons that I grabbed him in an instant without even thinking about it, aside from the fact that, he's my friend, and I really do admire everything that he does to keep the ship literally running. I just couldn't let him fall to his death without, giving him a good lecture about stealing my alcohol.
Because if there's one thing the Pirate Queen does not abide, it is theft.
Theft of my personal supply of alcohol.
Yes, a violation of personal property
It's okay if you
laws.
steal other people's stuff, just not mine.
See, that's why she and I are good friends. She understands that it's important that people give her what is her due.
Well, I know enough about
I must go, my people need me.
the pirate code, if you will. Right, that you don't steal from fellow pirates.
Exactly.
The Pirate Code is a bit more of a suggestion.
Guidelines.
Guidelines.
A lot of people left a lot of things behind to come into this life, and it's not exactly the most comfortable or luxurious life, and so, stealing of one's personal items is not tolerated. Especially the booze is not tolerated.
Okay.
It's just criminal beyond piracy.
You should have seen her the first time when she didn't know it was me and she was just going around the ship going, "Why is the rum gone?"
The rum is always gone. Never steal anything else.
The gnomes are demanding.
Alright. Cedric? What do you and Edward get up to together? You hang out a lot. What do you talk about?
Apparently we win Final Fantasy battles.
No,
Oh no, we open Zelda chests, I'm
We have a
sorry.
chest. We go treasure hunting, find chests, have drinks, or talk about finding treasure chests while we drink.
Drink chest full of drink?
Treasure chests of all sorts.
Yes.
Some of them more or less literally chests.
Yes. Yes.
I think I know where you're going.
Can I speak out of character for a moment?
Sure.
Notre Dame's winning hockey.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful.
Alright.
Alright.
My
Yes.
parents texted
But
me that, I'm sorry.
Usually
Character.
there's a nice bottle passed around between us during most, if not all, of our interactions that are not business related.
Right. Okay. And Edward,
Yes.
you grew up with Wilbur, right? And what were you two like as children?
Well, you see. Well, first off, the thing you have to understand is that I was younger than he was
Yes.
by a reasonable margin. Not, like he was in college and I was 5, but... So, back then, he came from a slightly less advantaged neighborhood, let's put it that way.
Slightly less advantaged? Slightly less advantaged? I grew up in a rich-person neighborhood. You just constantly make fun of me because you thought that I was a pompous jerk.
Right. So as I was saying, slightly less advantaged, not necessarily monetarily,
Oh, okay.
but everyone knows the people down at Green or Gretna's Green are not as... Regardless. So my parents had always emphasized the importance of study. What his parents emphasized, I have no idea. But it wasn't study.
Okay.
So we got along, we played a little, that sort of thing, but he was outside more often than I was, and he would, go around and play ball or other such things with the boys and other sorts of games. And I would usually be inside studying and trying to invent things and failing miserably for the most part. Though I did make all sorts of... What are you passing around?
We're just figuring out pages.
Regardless. So... But I did once manage to make this giant contraption that flung potatoes, which Potatoes, yes.
Awesome.
They were in ample supply for reasons that I'm sure the scullery maids would have known more than me. But regardless, I made them out of these sticks and marshmallows and a bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, this is aside from the point. The point is, he would be outside playing ball, and I would be inside building a machine and threw potatoes at him with this machine.
Though it was
Sounds
fun.
like a wonderful thing.
It was fun, because he was actually pitched potatoes to me, and then I would hit them, and then they would soar flying potatoes.
Excellent. I love it.
We tried baking them, but they just kind of burst.
Did you poke holes in the potato before you heat
Well, when he
them
hit them.
up?
Yeah, generally hitting potatoes with bats.
Robert, did you ever expect to reconnect with Edward after the academy? And as well, did you ever expect for him to turn into the master engineer that he is today?
Well, I always kind of expected him to become some sort of learned man, but I always thought he'd work in like the major cities as like a established scientist or inventor with some kind of a college doing some kind of research. I never imagined that he'd be the rough and tough, no milk drinking engineer of a pirate ship. So it was as big a surprise to me as I'm sure it was to him to find him on, a ship instead of in a lab.
It was highly surprising.
Mm-hmm. Jezebel, how has dating Edward been going for you? And what's been your biggest challenge in the relationship?
You just had to ask that.
Yes, I did.
That's a very personal question, but I've always been a very open woman.
I will not say anything.
Anyway, well, I mean, we are dating, and I understand that due to some events of his past that I won't elaborate because it's Edward's business, and, well, that's his business. I understand that he is a little bit hesitant to be in another relationship right now, and so sometimes I find that he's not as affectionate as he could be.
Okay.
I will pretend that was a natural cough, because if not, I'd have to test out my new cough-solving machine.
They do make whiskey for that.
Yes, but my cough-solving machine is better, and by better I mean painful.
Isn't he cute?
Depends on your definition of
I've
cute.
not heard of it.
The last one worked out.
Seriously, am I the one who doesn't trust him?
On a scale of 1 to grizzly bear.
Well, okay, Barbara,
3.
be honest. What do you think Edward's deal is?
Well, I've had many suspicions. He could be working on a death ray, he could be working on a giant bomb,
Or
or
lucky.
Yeah, no.
or he could be working for the Imperialists and building a tracker.
I don't think that would be something he would do.
I feel like the first
But
two
I
are
am
very,
totally
very
working
possible.
on the first two. I
Yeah.
am working on the first two.
You forget that we had
Death rays and
No.
bombs.
we
It's
brew
pretty much your
on
cup
our
of tea.
ship. He would never be able to leave that environment.
I'm also working on an automatic tea maker.
I don't know when you have that finished.
Teabagger 2000.
Still, just how he's acting right now, I can't trust him. I'm so unsure of him. He just seems sort of hot.
Okay. I'd like to ask more about your families now.
Oh goodness.
Ellen, do you miss your old life at all? Particularly your mother?
No.
Not at all. But
Not really.
Good answer.
But, I knew from an early age that I wasn't going to be cut out for the life of nobility. And my parents always seemed like they were trying to force me into a position that just didn't fit.
But that's you.
Sure.
So, skirts were just one of the numerous problems with the whole scenario.
I'm sure they can be cumbersome, yeah.
I'd like to see her trying to board a ship in a fancy ballroom.
With a giant blade.
If anyone would do it,
It's hard.
I ditched the skirts long before this whole pirate.
something tells me you would do it just for the sake of doing it.
No. I hate skirts.
But did you ever consider the effect of your decision on your mother?
Yeah, I didn't
Do you
really.
think she misses you?
I think if she misses me, she misses the idea of who I should have been. Like I said, I was never cut out for that role of filling her shoes in society.
Okay.
And, it was obvious how much of a disappointment that probably was to her. And I really don't think she misses me for who I am now or who I was even then, but she misses me for the idea of having this daughter that would be able to step into the family role and go out to society with dresses.
All right. Then
In other words,
what happened to your sister?
How many dresses are there?
She did everything I couldn't do. She wore the pretty dresses and went through all of her, finishing classes, like a star pupil. Well, I sat in the back and do spitballs. It was just... She did everything that I couldn't do for my family.
Okay. Cedric. Your father was your inspiration to join the IAM, right?
Inspiration? That might be too kind of a word.
What did he do?
I'm only speaking this out of truth. Like he was in the Navy, like you were into. But I don't think inspiration is the right word, because if he was an inspiration for me, I would not have gotten to the position I was. He sucked at being in the Navy, to be honest. Like, he just wasn't that good in the Navy. It was just some sort of, what's the right word? He just didn't have the eye of a captain.
Okay. So did that drive you to do better then?
Of course.
All right. And you also have a younger brother, yes?
Yeah, maybe.
What does he do?
Well, the last time I haven't heard about him for ages. I think the last I heard of him was like maybe 7 or so years ago. He followed my footsteps. He's a couple of years younger than me, like 5 or so years younger than me. He when I left to join piracy, he, from what I heard, was entering the academy and also took the exam, and he didn't do too hot. He did.
More or less than Ruber.
I think about the same grade as Rover.
But did he stick with it though?
I don't know.
You don't. Okay.
I haven't heard his name in the newspapers speaking about naval accomplishments, so I guess this is good mine.
Okay.
He is writing for a newspaper.
I hope you subscribe to the newspaper.
Why do you think he's on this ship?
there's other ways to get news.
Gossip
You?
is not reliable. Is not reliable.
I mean, that's how.
Can I throw him off the ship and he's a part of the paparazzi?
No.
Turn off the ship.
Oh, let's
Bring it down.
go there.
No, bad.
Thank you. Edward, your daughter has the same terminal illness that your wife fell to. How is she doing now? Since last you've seen her.
All right, I suppose.
All right. Any improvement?
No.
No. Is she at least holding steady though?
Yeah.
Okay. May I ask who she's? You're all gesturing at me.
No.
Okay.
It's a sensitive topic.
I know, but that's what I'm here to get at.
Can't you see hurting my poor Edward?
I'm sorry.
She might shoot you in the face.
Okay, I'll change topics. Edward, do you have any other relatives in the same business? Or are you
In
the only
piracy
engineer of the
or
family?
engineering or piracy?
Both.
Engineering is what I meant, but if you have, a pirate sibling or cousin, that'd be cool too.
Not that I'm aware of. I do know someone who runs an engineering shop that charges too much.
They all seem to do that, don't they?
No. They all charge exactly what's fair because you have to pay it.
See what you did
All
there.
right. Robert, you've struggled to form a family multiple times. Why does it always seem to fall through for you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I try and create these relationships, these bonds with other people, and they always seem to go off in a different direction. It seems like they don't reciprocate it, and it's like I'm putting more into the relationship than I'm getting out of it. And I know a relationship's about giving, but it just has never really worked out correctly. After as short as a couple of weeks, things just fall apart. I mean, I've tried, but there's only so much one man can do.
All right. What was your home life growing up? Do you blame your parents at all for the direction your life is going in?
Well, I mean, my parents were always pretty distant. My mother was constantly working, as was my father. So I was pretty much left either alone or with a nanny of some sort, but even they usually didn't care enough. So, I mean, pretty much all of my life growing up, I kind of had to rely on myself in a way, but it kind of pushed me away from the whole nobility that I was supposed to grow up with. My parents, similar to Helen, my parents were expecting me to be some kind of nobleman, carry on in their footsteps, but after the way I saw how they treated their family and how they treated everyone around them, and they were always focused on work, their social life, and I just knew that wasn't the life for me.
Okay. Jezebel, did your parents approve of your previous lifestyle as a gambler?
Well, by that time, my mother was already passed away, and my father's sort of, the reason I got into the types of lifestyles I've led is he was himself a gambler, headquartered somewhere, I suppose. And after my mother died or passed away, he sort of got very heavily into gambling, and he might have run out of money at some point, and he might have kind of sort of gambled me away.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I found my own way out of that type of situation, and gambling was beneficial in a situation like that.
I was going to ask her when she was working.
Do you know what became of your sister all those years ago?
Well, I mean, I don't think my father gambled her away too. I mean, he got a lot of money from me, but I don't know. I never had the chance to go back home and never wanted to at that point, I suppose.
Okay. Barbara, you're, as far as you know, an only child.
Yes.
Do you ever wish you had siblings?
Well, I wouldn't want them to lead the screwed up life that I've led, sort of. With a father who, really didn't care about us and left as soon as my mother's, health went south.
Yeah. He left you at what, 3, and then she died 2 years later?
Yeah, because, I remember watching her deteriorate until she died. The day she died, yeah.
Okay.
So, plus, with the orphanage, the orphanage that I was in was so, overcrowded and such. barely any time and attention to us anyway, so.
Pure theory, of course, but what do you think ever became of your father?
I suspect that he's either sailing away in prison because he got too drunk and just decided to get into some bar fight, or possibly dead.
Okay.
Don't know either.
Although you did have a good friend to help you through some of the worst of it. What was his name?
I remember you talking about, did you have a friend named Leon when you were younger? Is this his name?
I'm not sure.
Look at me, she never talks to me except for those paranoid theories of hers.
Well, regardless, do you keep in touch with any friends from the orphanage at all?
Well, I was sort of in between the, ages, so there were, of course, kids older than me who thought they owned the roost, and, pretty much took authority and were just like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine.
Right.
While there were kids younger than me always being needy. So I sort of just kept to myself and would, there was a desk always in the corner with a huge window next to it, and I'd sort of just daydream and draw away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jezebel, who's the best gambler you've ever played with?
Oh, I suppose I can't count myself for that one.
Well, no, of course not.
I'd rather play with yourself when you're gambling against yourself all the time from place to place.
Will I win this round in solitaire?
That's not a sure thing now.
Who would you give the money to if you
Well, I
lost?
mean,
Exactly.
There was one player that I would wish to forget, but remember fairly vividly, and he and I played quite some time before I was actually able to beat him. And it's very interesting, man. I don't know his entire name, but I remember hearing that he was called Geoff or Jeffrey or some nonsense.
Okay.
And he might have been the man my father lost to repeatedly. And who kind of sort of owned me for a while, but that's a different story. And bars in the room, so I probably shouldn't go into those details.
Okay.
She is interesting.
I am 18.
I did. Okay.
I was gambled away at 14, so I mean, that's still you're pretty old, girl.
Robert,
Carol.
it's been some time, but do you still resent the IAN officers who kicked you out?
Yes. They seem to think that I was not good enough for their school, that I wasn't accomplished enough, that I wasn't good enough. These were only opinions. I was clearly one of the better students. I was clearly fit to be an officer, and they took that position away from me.
Now would not be the
Apparently
best time for me
nerd.
to remind you about your marksmanship score on the exam.
Marksmanship has nothing to do with officerhood.
Taking bets on the fight.
just won't be that Bob.
Not the right time.
It's always the right time.
Out of curiosity, do you ever gamble on someone attacking you? Like, does someone ever attack you and you go, bets on the fight, bets on the fight?
I don't need that because I always win.
It's
I've
a
had
surefire
people
investment.
that is
But
true.
yeah, no, then you should do it, because it's a surefire, you know who will win, so you just have to
Yeah,
bet
but
on
then it
yourself.
takes the fun out of it.
I've
But
had
you get
people
more
attack
money.
me and then bet on me winning.
I mean, if they made money, I guess.
Alright, Edward, what are you working on now? What's your latest and greatest project?
I mean, where do I start, and when should I end?
First off, the ones that you're at liberty to tell him about.
Right, obviously.
Give us your most recent idea.
My most recent idea.
Raising large bombs.
And trackers.
This morning I woke up, and I didn't want to get out of bed. So I thought that maybe I could rig up beds that would push you into a standing position into your clothes and dress you with steam power. Then they could put on your hat and adjust it to a jaunty angle.
Jaunty.
What kind of infernal contraption would that be?
Why not
Get
just
me out
build
of bed?
beds with feet that just walk around and you control them?
Well, I believe that's what armchairs are for. You may not
Yes.
be lying down, but you take up less space, and it's arguably just as comfortable.
Then you have a
Yeah,
recliner.
no, we already have walking chairs. The entire point is to
Wheels
get
on
me
that.
out of bed.
Oh my god.
Who didn't even want to ever get out of bed? Because there
Hers
was
would
work
have
to be done
extra
on the
strength,
ship.
so she could go.
I think we have two different methods of work.
Because we aren't the Pirates of Dreamland.
But yes, no, I'm coming up and inventing and trying to invent all other sorts of things. An unfortunate number of them explode. I don't know if...
Yes, one of the downsides of working with gases at high pressure.
Yes. But it is fortunate in a way, because it means I can get things to explode when I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like those steam dice.
This is why you guys have given it to you yet. We're still testing.
Right,
Who's a test on you? Or Robert?
Not me.
You
Cedric,
will be money. Oh wait, that's why you can't tell yet.
Exactly.
surely in your rounds as an IAN officer, you must have made a few enemies. Tell us about your most notorious encounter.
Notorious? Are you asking the ones who are still alive or the ones who are dead?
Whatever makes for the most interesting story.
Oh, okay. Let's see, so I'm deciding to, I guess the most interesting one. Well, there was this fleet of airships, actually, pirate airships. Back, oh gosh, this is like my third year as an officer. There were a bunch of this fleet of pirate ships. They were trying something different. They were trying to build sort of like this mega ship. Basically, they poorly done, might add.
Okay.
So their idea was basically attaching their own ships together via planks or like steam pipe or something like that. And it just became like this giant mass. So like, we were tasked, me and I was the head of the task force actually, to take down this giant blob, I guess is the right word. That's what it looks like. I mean, they attached 100 different ships together.
Wow. Sounds amazing. I imagine it would be difficult to maneuver.
It was, but you know, when you have 1,000 cannons that go in any direction, you really don't have to worry about maneuvering. You can blast your way through.
Understandable.
But what they didn't realize was that pirates, some of them could have been fought off, and all we had to do was just send one ship with some gold, a nice, sweet-talking person, and we were able to turn the ship on itself. Quite literally. Like, the bottom half, they decided to detach, and then they sort of like jammed up into the middle half, and then the top half went apart.
Interesting. All right, so victory through diplomacy. I like it.
Yes.
Helen, it's been said you have a fantastic tale about a formative experience with one of your teachers, back when you were still expected to become a high-standing member of society. You care to share this tale with us?
This should be good.
Well,
That guy's.
remember, my sister was busy being a star pupil, and I sat in the back, quite literally, throwing spitballs when the teacher wasn't looking, and then one day she decided that, she was going to, finally improve her timing. And look, just as I was about to launch one, and, of course she scolded me for being unladylike or some nonsense like that. And you know, of course, I had to try to explain to her that I was merely practicing my marksmanship, as it would be a much more useful tool to me than how to walk properly or how to stand when you're wearing a corset. And so then, some of the children, while she was, you know, trying to teach me what I should be doing instead, told me that, you know, they didn't really think I had much of a excuse me, that I didn't really have good aim, as I said I did. So I took some spitballs and I launched a few, and the first one hit the teacher in her left eye. And the second one hit her in her right eye.
Oh my.
And she got really red in the face. And she opened up her mouth to yell at me, and that's when the third one found its mark. In the back of her throat, right as she was inhaling. I mean, it wasn't thinking she didn't choke or anything, but...
That's really, I'm sure no one doubted your marksman ability after that.
I wonder if adding steam-powered corsets could make them comfortable.
They'd have to be expanded.
Adding steam power to everything doesn't necessarily make it better.
Makes it cooler.
But it could be some kind of steam-powered corset battle armor.
Just some
Basically,
Tactical corsets.
That it can expand, right? Instead of trapped.
Spitball.
You can work on that later.
The purpose of
Let me finish the interview first, please. So I have a question for all of you, really. Your ship's physician, Dr. Victor Simon. Could we all go around and share your opinion about him? Let's start here, Cedric.
He's alright, I guess. I mean, like, there's nothing overtly that I could say is wrong about him. I just have this, like, sneaking suspicion in the back of my mind, like, Barbara does about Edward. That he may be doing something on the side, I don't know, experimenting with clockwork automatons, trying to revive the dead. But they're just very unfounded things.
Okay.
But overall, he's pretty good.
Alright. Helen, you're the one who hired him.
Yes, and you know, of all the people in my crew, I don't really know much about him. Which, you know, is a little unsettling when I think about it. Because I just don't know much about him in general. He doesn't really seem to be very forthcoming, at least not to me, as his employer. But, you know, he does good work. And he hasn't really done anything to arouse my suspicions.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was trying to withhold that, but thank you.
Alright.
I'm suspicious on him about him.
Yeah.
Well, apart from him constantly telling me that I need to work out more and eat more vegetables and other nonsense, he seems to do a relatively alright job of keeping me fit and not sick. But, I mean, other than that, he's a physician. He does his job.
Okay.
We all seem to get along with him. I haven't heard any outstanding stories of being thrown about the ship or getting into fights.
Edward, what's your opinion?
I mean, he's an alright physician, I suppose. I don't know really much about that. But, beyond that, science! All the experiments! All the...
Have you two worked together on anything?
Yes.
Interesting.
Let me guess. Steam-powered people.
Why would I need a doctor for that?
Steam-powered super suits?
Those might require a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Steam-powered limbs.
When I need, something like that, where I need a doctor to come in and tell me about those fleshy machines called humans.
You are a human.
I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
Alright.
If how you cut me, do I not bleed?
Barbara,
I
you
have
kind of defended him.
Well, I have a feeling that, like, he's been through a loss that I have possibly he lost his wife, possibly something like that. So I understand he's going through the grieving process, but I don't think he's gotten quite over the fact that
Well,
he lost someone.
I don't think
so-
she's dead yet. As
Oh,
far as I
or, well,
Taco.
Awkward taco?
Taco.
Taco.
well, or like she might be
Anyway.
like
But it-
not good,
yes,
like in
it surely
health. Like
has
it
taken
might
a while.
be like any time now that she goes. So it's like he's going through the grieving process, but he sort of seems creepy to say the least. That it's like the process of
Yeah.
what he's going through,
Okay.
like through the grieving.
Jezebel?
I try to befriend everyone. I mean, he's a okay guy. No point in gambling with him. He's not really got anything valuable at this moment in time.
Even though he's a doctor.
Knowledge.
And trust me, I almost made him faint at some of the stories I've had to explain to him. It's not good. We're not going there. Not for that or anyway, but I also figure it's good to make friends with him. Of interest for Edward since, his daughter's sick.
And we can't even think that Barbara's issue is she doesn't understand what grieving is.
Part special.
Okay. Helen, in your travels, what's the strangest thing you've seen?
Strangest thing I've seen. I've seen a lot. Strange things. I've seen a lot of things that weren't so strange. I've seen a lot of really pretty things. Don't get me started. The strangest thing I think I've seen was, the first time I saw an image of a ship that was floating in the air with nothing but moss on the other side.
Moss.
Moss.
Okay.
Moss, and it floats, and there's no giant grass
Perfectly
thing on top. It's
Now.
moss. It's earthbound. How does something earthbound make your ship float?
Well, it's sort of like how do stones make your ship float, but I get that as well.
How do stones make what? What are we talking?
Stones do not make your ship float.
It's a kind of metal.
What? You mean in water?
Anyway,
Stones don't even float.
well, you said you saw some beautiful things besides that, right?
Oh yeah, that wasn't a question.
Yeah, we've been talking
Okay.
about it.
I'm just
Cedric, do you have a favorite place that you like to visit?
Well, there's this one restaurant. What? I like food.
I genuinely don't see what's
He
wrong.
likes to take Helen to dinner too.
Anyways, tell us about the restaurant.
Oh gosh. Oh.
This idea of
there.
a
Oh
romantic
god.
date.
It's like what? Oh. The name of the town escapes me now, but it's something like very plain, like Bridgeport or Portstown. It's yeah, they're not very great.
Something with the port.
Quite literally.
Port Bridge.
Yeah. But it is a town. Oh my gosh. Oh, the food there. My favorite thing there is like the steak they have. It's sort of it's a good piece of meat. And then they have sort of like this wonderful butter sauce over it. There's a bit of white wine, garlic.
You're making me hungry already.
And then, but the thing is, the steak isn't the best part. The desserts are actually what I love. All of the desserts have some sort of liquor theme.
Saw that coming.
Liquor.
This is the place where you took me for
I'm currently eating, and you're making me hungry.
And what's great is they have a great sommelier there. The pairings of wine they have, just every dish is, I can just go on about that.
Okay, well, I'll stop you there. Edward,
Yes.
tell me, where is your quiet place? Where do you go to get away and study?
The engine.
Definitely
In
a quiet
the engine
place.
itself, or do you mean the engine room?
Well, you see, sort of in the engine itself. Like,
Are you making friends with all the gnomes in there?
The gnomes don't live in the engine. Listen,
like
you
how it's quiet
don't.
place.
You obviously don't understand how
Shit.
mechanics work. So stop bringing up the gnomes. No,
She's the person who said that moss and rocks are the things
that is true.
She said
I mean, rocks do float, apparently.
She went away from school, okay? Let Edward finish, guys.
Regardless, so being in the engine room or being up in the works of the engine, just kind of working on things, it kind of calms me down. It lets me get a bearing on things, makes me think, and no one bothers me because everyone thinks it's a screaming metal death trap.
Okay.
And I carry a notebook with me. I'll scribble ideas down, that sort of thing. So it's inspiring to be surrounded by a machine.
That makes sense. Robert, how do you like to relax and take a break?
Well, you see, there's nothing better than when I'm able to get back to my ship and sit in the captain's cabin, close and lock the doors, and just kick my feet back up on my desk and read a good book.
Apparently the captain is your desk.
Yes. My, either that or, of course, going to Jezebel's bar and indulging in some fine spirits.
Right. Yes.
And losing all your money.
Everyone loves that.
Everyone knows everything at my bar.
Jezebel, what's the strangest thing you've ever seen?
Strangest.
Unless you
Where is she start?
I've seen some pretty strange things. You know what's really interesting? Colleen and her trick of throwing people out the window isn't even strangers. It's not my car. The other one's involved to push this clothing. Anyway, no. Actually, I suppose one of the strangest things was the various times that people continued to think they could cheat me out of my money. You know, I suppose that is kind of odd because you would have thought they would have picked up on it after I shot a guy for taking my money the last time. But they still think it's okay, so I suppose that is a bit odd. I would have thought people would have had more common sense than that. Oh well. But
You
these
assume a lot of people, unfortunately. You assume a lot of people.
yeah, well, you know, the other strange things I wouldn't want to talk about in present company, you still seem a little one behind the ears, so I don't think you could handle
Alright,
this.
yeah, we don't have to go there. Barbara,
Yes?
you've been through a lot of tough stuff in your life, but what's the worst thing that you've ever witnessed?
Well, I've been on a few ships that, to say the least, they were hellish. I've been put into several hellish situations where the best course of action was to literally pick myself out of, like, handcuffs holding me, pick the lock of the door that I was in, grab the nearest, like, small, I guess, no. Like, small ship, like, sort of a lifeboat sort of thing, and try to make a break for it. So, I've seen a lot of the worst of humanity, so I guess that's been probably one of the worst things that I've ever seen.
Okay. Helen, what is your favorite place to visit?
Yeah. My favorite place to visit. Yeah, I can't really think of a place that I actually like to physically go to more than any place else. More of I just enjoy the company I'm with. I do enjoy, spending time in my private quarters. I also enjoy just walking around the ship in my free time, just checking in on everyone, see what they're doing, whether they're up to some task as part of making the ship run, or if they're just spending free time themselves. Otherwise, what I really enjoy most of all is stargazing. Now, I know it's not a place I can actually go to yet, maybe if I get some sort of like epic luft boss.
Start working on it.
I mean, if you want, I can totally get you out of the atmosphere. You just won't be alive.
Exactly. I want to be alive to experience it. So
Right. Okay. Is that something you do to pass the time on the ship then, when you're not busy with other things?
yeah, I started. I also enjoy reading the mythological stories that a lot of the constellations are based off of.
Okay.
I do some embroidery. Not much, but you know, embroidery's fun. It's a mindless thing that I just sort of need to do
Doesn't
sometimes
seem-
to come.
Doesn't seem very like you.
That's why I don't do it much.
Okay. Touche.
I guess some parts of the old life.
See, it's a mindless task. I do it when I need some utter quiet.
I once saw her embroider a cutlass. Not put the embroidery on the cutlass. The cutlass was the embroidery.
Well, I do some
Oh
very
yes,
interesting.
of course. I
No,
imagine the
I don't
motifs would fit the lifestyle.
Exactly. I embroider, images of the night sky and constellations. I embroider, for example, I've done gifts where I embroider the position of the stars on the night when somebody was born, and then I embroider hieroglyphs, skulls, and
Roses. Okay.
anyway, I believe we're done now with that question, right?
Cedric, how do you pass the time on the ship?
That's a good question. I'm hard pressed to find free time. There's always something to do on the ship. Usually there's. Well, it sounds weird, but I enjoy just watching the alcohol in the town.
Really?
Yeah. It's sort of relaxing seeing something made, and then something that you can tangibly feel the effects of.
And
Okay.
taste
I never
test,
thought of that as a
right?
very
Well, I watched a
process.
child grow up.
Feel the
Fast forward.
effects. Really.
It is like watching
After a
paint
few
dry.
mugs of it, you can test
Okay.
it.
But there's a
Like
goal
watching
Watching
a steak cook.
store.
I also do like food, so I do try to.
It's not a steak.
Okay. Edward, do you have any other non-engineering hobbies that you indulge in?
You see, engineering is. I have things I do that aren't engineering in the sense of you wouldn't learn them in an engineering school. But you can take the engineer out of the process, but you can't take the process out of the engineer. So,
I understand.
I do a bit of cooking, brewing. I'm still trying to make the perfect cup of tea.
How's that going?
Well, you can try it, but the last crewman who did is still vomiting out of the port.
I think I'll pass then.
Yeah, but
It wasn't tea that you did. We never liked tea. Sorry.
that way, of course. But so because I develop machines and a bunch of things like this, I very often have to dabble in, literally a dozen things. I know some things about dressmaking just because how else do I make an automatic dressmaker?
Right.
And I know some, so, I can be doing 1,001 tasks.
All right. Robert, I've got a question for you. What is it that happened to your ship that left it so damaged?
Ooh. Well, let me just tell you. When trying to raid a military vessel, ramming it is not a good idea.
Also, when you miss and you ram into the side of the mountain.
It was not the side of a mountain, it was the side of a mountainous ship. It's a big difference.
This ship?
Ship. It was a very big ship.
I've never heard mountainous used as a synonym for big.
Yeah.
Really?
Regardless, turns out my faith in the integrity of our hull was a little bit larger than it should have been. Well,
The hole in the side of the ship.
Anyway, we did manage to get out of there, damaged, but thankfully all hands accounted for.
That's
Apart from the helmsman and the Anyway, we got out of there mostly intact, and we're getting to work on the repairs. It won't take much long for the good ship Legacy to be at full strength again.
Good to
Once
hear.
you get some
Jezebel. Besides the obvious, do you have a favorite game?
Was dice and games are fun. I mean,
Is there any one in particular?
Well, there was one game that I found quite intriguing. I've only ever played it once though. It was entitled Bards or something, and based on the roll of your dice, it predicted how good a bard you were, and kind of told
Oh, I've never actually played that game before.
I think I have too!
It's an interesting game.
I've heard of it before, yes. It was quite interesting. Alright, as a follow-up, do you have a favorite drink?
Ooh. That's an interesting discussion. I mean, it depends on when and what you're drinking for. I mean, depending on the occasion, different drinks are more
a
suitable.
general go-to? Like, when in doubt, you can always rely on this.
Your beach.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Do they have nude beaches in like 1870s Britain?
shush.
Don't worry about it. We'll invent
You obviously haven't been to very many European bars.
On floating land masses.
People
Well, there
people
are.
can choose
well,
to
there
make
is
it a
a
nude
sea on
beach.
one of the land masses.
They're feeling adventurous.
I mean,
Some of the more risque members of
That's not what
society.
we're talking about. It's the drink that sets on the beach. Oh, you meant sets on the beach?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's so many.
yeah. I mean,
A lot of interesting titles.
That's a good one.
yeah.
once again, I'm not sure how many Victorians would.
Anyways,
Shush.
Barbara,
They would probably have
Yes?
called it the
how do
southern
you pass
activity
the
on the
boredom
beach.
on the ship?
Well, you know, I do stuff. Mostly I just, sort of just write in my journal. And if we pass by one of the land masses and there happens to be birds, I sometimes just sketch the birds. Other times I try to, get Jezebel to try to teach me some tricks, and she always refuses and shoos me away. And at other times I try to spy on Edward to see what he's doing, and I can never see what he's doing.
Even if she could, I doubt she could understand it.
There's lots of steam in
I don't think I could either.
That's very steamy.
Okay.
I see where you're going.
I have a couple of the same questions I want to hear from all of you. What are some of your personal goals? And we can go around the circle once again. Cedric?
Personal goals. You know, I would like to have a family.
Okay.
It's something to, you know, continue the line of continue my life, basically.
All right.
But more short term thinking.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to be the best there ever was.
Cedric, you want to be the best like no one ever was.
Thank you. Thank you. I've had a little bit too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I told you he was that drunk.
Helen,
You know,
your personal goal.
some people may not believe this, but I also want to have a family. And I would also like to carry on my line.
But just
you know,
not yet.
until then, I'm focused on, you know, I set out on this life because I wanted adventure. So I just want to go and do as many things and see as many places as I can before then.
All right. Robert?
What do I want out of life? It's a bit of a deep question.
Well, it doesn't have to be that deep. Just what? one thing you want to do in the immediate future?
Well, I hope to really, like many pirates, or maybe no pirates, I really can't say for sure, but I see my future in the exact same place as now. I can't see myself in another situation.
Free from debt?
I guess.
I would hope that in your future I would be getting money.
Of course, I'll get you your money, don't worry. But, I like where I am in life right now. Even if... But, who knows what the future holds? Maybe I'll change it in the future, but for now I'm very fine with going with the flow.
Alright. Edward.
I'll find the cure for my daughter.
Understandable.
I sort of want to find out what happened to my father, so that if he's alive, kick his butt. Other than that,
It doesn't hurt.
sort of just, I don't know, find a place to belong. Because I really haven't had that since my mother died.
Jezebel?
Well, I suppose more short-term goals would obviously be getting the money people owe me. and
I'll get you your money.
No, for the record, she looked at Rover.
Anyway, oh, everyone knows.
Bear.
Robert.
Everyone knows.
Oh, you.
And support my friends in their life endeavors, be it have children or not to have children at this moment in time. I said at this moment in time.
Stop bringing it up.
Sorry, I didn't bring it up first.
Answer the question.
I'm trying to. You're interrupting me. Anyway, but obviously, be in possession of a large fortune. And possibly enough that, I could have a family of my own and have people with me for much longer than just a day or night or whatever.
Right. Alright. Now, something I'm sure you've all thought a lot about, but maybe never expressed in so many words. Why specifically do each of you hate the Empire?
When you get inside the higher ranks of the military, you begin to see some very interesting things in terms of from the Empire side. For example, I am guilty of this. So during my days as a naval officer, one of my tasks was to explore and chart and build new maps, new charts for landmasses, and I stumbled across a new landmass. And on the landmass, there was this group of native people that hadn't heard about Empire yet. And so, being my naive self, I brought the joys of the Empire to them. Joys should be some more sarcastic. I saw what the Empire did to those people. They enslaved them, horribly mistreated them, and it was just very disgusting to see what the Empire did, all in the name of wealth and power.
Okay. Helen?
The goals of the Empire always seem very empty to me. And while I do talk politics sometimes, I will admit, maybe I don't understand, at least Empire politics, the best way. But, they conquer. But what for? They're not unifying people. They're just gaining power. And they don't really seem to do anything with that power. There is no higher goal other than just achieving more power. And not only does it not make sense to me, but it all seems very empty. So it's like a mindless machine. And everybody in society is supposed to have their little part. But they don't really do anything.
Okay. Robert?
Well, This all partially stems back to my time in. It all stems back to my time in the academy. I mean, I had put my time in. I put years of my life into studying to become an officer, to studying to become a. You could call it a big deal, but it just seems like after all my work, after all my blood, sweat, and toil, that they passed me up. They ignored me. They looked straight through my potential. And it's a hard topic for me to talk about because
They let you down on a very personal level then.
Yes. It feels like they never, like the Empire never really appreciated me. So I decided to find people who actually were there.
Okay. Edward?
They have a crap healthcare system.
That is true. I agree with him on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm under no illusions, for example, that I'm going to go and fight for some great future society where no one's life will ever die because they have mounting medical bills, but the Empire doesn't care about me, didn't care about me, so I don't care about them. I'm not sure if hate's the right word for that, but I don't feel particularly bad about taking their ships.
Alright.
Where do I start? Like he said, they've got a cruddy healthcare system, and I'm not even, I wasn't even covered in it. But the prices and the taxes that they've set on certain medications is possibly what made it, impossible for my mother to ever get better, because the medications were so darn expensive, and that's what also helped accrue the debt that I was later dropped on. Speaking of that debt, I was barely getting any money from working on the ship when they decided, oh, she's working, she can pay off her debt. So they decided to drop a huge sum on me, and I'm no way to pay it back, and I've calculated there's no way to pay it back. So they've pretty much damned me to stealing. And finally, when the ship that I was on, or Rubers, I believe, when he finally turned to piracy, I was on his ship, and I decided to turn to piracy as well. And that's sort of also damning, I guess, as well, so.
Okay. Jezebel?
Well, I mean, the Empire made my livelihood, shall we say, illegal, and because they just don't take kindly to my type of fun in general. I mean, they just need to loosen up a bit, and I might know many girls and a boy or two that could gladly show them how.
Okay.
I'm sure we shouldn't
Next
have
question.
gone with the whorehouse, Thumb. But I know you're just acting like you do.
Can each of you tell me what or who you would say you are most loyal to? In terms of the crew? Or the crew?
In terms
However
of
that
any alliance.
means to you.
Everything.
I'm most loyal to myself. That sounds very selfish, I realize that. But let me explain. So, when I mean that, I'm very aware of what I need, and what I realize I need is to have everyone else around me in good shape.
And good alcohol, right?
Let's not hear that.
Who's working on this play?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm most loyal to myself in that I always want to make sure that everyone is all right. And that's one of the top goals.
Okay.
Everyone around me says.
Helen?
most loyal to my crew. And not just my crew on my immediate ship, but my, entire fleet, so to speak.
Yes.
It's very... As a leader of such a large group of people, I need to be very careful in every move I make and every decision that I make, that I am leading them not just on the right path, but on the best possible path.
Okay. Robert?
I would say that I'm most loyal to Helen. As the captain of our fleet, per se, as our pirate queen, she commands my utmost loyalty.
All right.
My daughter, and I don't really think I need to explain that.
No. I understand perfectly.
Partially to myself because I know, like, I've been the only one there mostly for my time I've mostly only been with myself, so I know myself sort of best. But also, Rover, because he's like the one who hasn't kicked me off the ship yet. So, the one captain who hasn't kicked me off the ship yet, so I sort of gotta be... Well, I was on his ship first, okay?
Fair is fair, I guess.
Pirate.
And Jezebel?
Well, I mean, I'm loyal to those who don't cheat me or who interest me, who I can be friends with, like Helen. She's, I mean, feel fairly loyal to her, and I suppose also loyal to anyone I feel strong feelings for.
Even if they don't always get it.
Yeah, especially.
Okay. One more for each of you. And I know I don't need to end on a dark note, but it's the last one on my list. What is something you sincerely regret doing? And I think we'll go in reverse order this time.
So, me first?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm used to the other order.
Well, I try to make it a point in life to not regret the things that I've done or had to do. I mean, I suppose there are one or two things that if I could change, I would change. I don't know if I would use so strong a word as regrets. I mean, chasing someone down and shooting him probably wasn't the best idea. It's wasted a lot of time. A lot of better sleep time, I suppose. And, well, I guess also, possibly falling for people who don't quite or are reasonably unable to currently return my affection.
Ouch.
Okay.
Moving on. I regret nothing. For the one reason, I'm sticking it to the man. They're the ones who pretty much, screwed me over in life the most, I guess, for taking, their high prices taking away my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought might as well, even if I won't be able to pay back the debt anyway. So, it doesn't really matter if I was either caught stealing, couldn't pay back the debt, I'd still be in a lot of problems. So in this way, in piracy, I'm at least having fun with it.
Alright. Edward?
See, regret's the troublesome word there. Because if you talk about the greatest source of pain in my life and anguish and things that generally are negative, it's the disease, but I can't take that as my fault. Yeah.
If there was one action you think you could have changed to turn your life in a different direction.
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
I mean, I can't stand behind every decision I've made, but I can't say any of them were really ruinous.
Okay. Wilbur?
If there's one thing in my life that I could set straight, it would be all the time that I've spent pandering and in the
Academy.
yes, yeah, in the academy. All the time that I spent in there, was all for naught. And ever believing that my imperial employers would be as trustworthy and honest as their facade seemed to show them as.
But not the gambling debts.
Hmm?
Not the gambling debts.
There are things you should regret.
That would be number 2.
Just pay me back.
Okay.
Let's not go that far. Hopefully he doesn't go that far.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hopefully I never have to regret that. Neither should you.
Okay. Helen?
When it comes to my own personal life, I don't really regret anything. I did everything that I needed to for myself, starting with getting out of society and then followed by getting out of the Empire entirely. I think the only thing I can honestly say I regret is anytime, we have a pretty good track record with our crew members, but every once in a while there's somebody that has to leave from one of the ships at least. They have to leave for various reasons, because they're needed back home, or because they're not cut out for this life, or even just because they realize it's not what they wanted. And that's what I regret, is not being able to give those people who gave their portion of their lives to me and not being able to give them whatever it was that they really needed.
Mm-hmm. Cedric?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy this life of piracy. But I do wonder sometimes, what would happen if I never did run away from the Naval Academy. I mean, I'm actually worried about my father. I can only imagine her star son disappearing to become a pirate, and all she's left with is my younger brother who isn't as good as me. And just my father, who wasn't great, maybe either. So I do worry about it.
Okay. All right. I think that will do it for personal questions. Why don't we take a short pause break here, and we'll continue with some more. I'd like to ask you a bit more about your ship and its functionality in particular.